So we saw the Tamo Guna, the Rajo Guna, and the Sattva Guna. Sattva Guna 117 is, it was said that Sattvam Vishuddham Jalavat Tathapi. It's like clean water. So when the water is clean, the reflection of the sun will be very bright and brilliant. And when the water is steady, the reflection also will be seen very clearly. In unsteady and muddy water, the reflection will be very dull. So the mind which is filled with predominantly Sattva Guna, that mind is described in 118 now. It was said that Rajo Guna and Tamo Guna, mixed with Rajo Guna and Tamo Guna, when they are more, Rajas and Tamas is more, then that is the cause of bondage, Saranaya Kalpate. But when that Rajo Guna and Tamo Guna are not more and Sattva Guna is more, Yatratma Bimba Pratibimbita San, then the reflection of the self in us, that becomes clear. Now, one important point to understand here is that the reflection of the self is recognized by us, first of all, only in the human being. The capability to recognize a self is there because we have the Sukshma Buddhi. And the reflection of the self in us is what enlivens this Buddhi. And if you remember, we have discussed this is the Chidabhas, reflection of consciousness. This further identifies with the mind and the intellect, with the mind and the body, and we have the feeling that I am this body, and the body is capable of seeing, hearing, tasting, smelling, touching. Mind is able to feel, intellect is able to think. By themselves, they are Jadavastu. They are inert, but only in the presence of that consciousness which reflects in the subtle body, they are able to function. And the capability to recognize this in the Buddhi, that my nature is this pure consciousness, I am not this body, is possible only because we have the Sukshma Buddhi. And the capability that comes to the Sukshma Buddhi is because of Sattva Guna. Buddhi by itself is made up of 5 subtle elements. But if it is contaminated with Rajas and Tamas, restlessness, ignorance, indulgence, all that, then that Buddhi doesn't work in its subtle state. It becomes grossified, it becomes Thula Vivek rather than Sukshma Vivek. And so it is, here it is said that Atma Bimba Pratibimbita San, the self is reflected in this Buddhi where it is not contaminated much by Rajas and Tamas. Now there are 2 states. One is called Mishra Sattva, other is called Vishuddha Sattva. Mishra Sattva means there is predominance of Sattva Guna, but it is mixed with Rajas and Tamas. I am talking about the binding part, not the necessary part. Necessary part will anyway have to be there. All the 3 gunas are required. But the binding part is where the mind has predominant Sattva, maybe 80% Sattva or even 90% Sattva and 10% Rajoguna and Tamoguna, which makes that mind to that extent impure. This is called Mishra Sattva. And Vishuddha Sattva is where there are no traces of Rajas and Tamas, the binding part. Purest Sattva Guna. So now 118 and 119. 118 tells us about the Mishra Sattva and 119 tells us about Vishuddha Sattva. So what is 118? Mishrasya Sattvasya Bhavanti Dharmaha Tvamanitadya Niyamaya Madhyaha Shraddha cha bhaktis cha mumukshutta cha daivi cha sampattirasannivrittihi. So he says here that Mishrasya tattvasya bhavanti dharmaha. What are the qualities of the mind and intellect which is which is mixed with little rajas and tamas? Preponderance of sattva is there. Major part of that mind is sattva guna only, but still it has rajas and tamas. So what will be the qualities of such a mind? So he says amanitadi niyama yamadhyaha. So what is amanitadhyaha? These are the virtues, values which are prescribed in the 13th chapter. Amanitadhyaha. In Puja Gurudev's commentary and the footnote they have given, you see, 13th chapter verses 7 to 11. These are very beautiful, noble qualities which we can cultivate, and actually Bhagavan calls them as jnanam. When somebody has these qualities, then Bhagavan, in his opinion, that person is a knowledgeable and a wise person. Not just somebody who has read a lot of scriptures, but one who is living the virtues. So value is something which I intellectually value. And when that value is lived in my daily life, it becomes virtue. So these are the virtues. So what are these? Amanitvam, humility. Adambhitvam, absence of pride. Ahimsa is non-injury, mainly at the mind level, but also at the speech and action level. Not to be violent at the body level, action level, not to be abusive to somebody verbally, as well as from mind, mentally not to hurt somebody, think ill of somebody. So amanitvam, adambhitvam, ahimsa, kshanti, the ability to forgive, the ability to let go, not harbor any ill will against people, and especially somebody who has harmed me. Shanti, arjavam, straightforwardness. As one is inside, so one is outside. No split personality. Arjavam. Amanitam, adamitam, ahimsa, kshanti, arjavam. Acharyopasanam. Go to a teacher, serve the teacher, so that the mind gets tuned up. It brings humility, expresses gratitude. Acharyopasanam. Shaucham, cleanliness. Again, cleanliness, not just externally, to keep our room clean, to keep our office, every place, that our personal desk. So that is one aspect of shaucham. Second is cleanliness in our intentions and motives. How clean and pure is the motive? Shaucham. Ahimsa, kshanti, arjavam, acharyopasanam, shaucham. Sthairyam is steadiness. Not to be fickle, to be decisive, to be firm, and to be committed to what decision or the path one has taken, not to be fickle minded. Acharyopasanam, shaucham. Sthiryam, atma vinigraha, control, self control. That how one is able to keep the senses in control and not get indulgent, not get carried away by the senses. Sthiryam, atma vinigraha. Then indriyartheshu vairagyam, dispassion from the sense objects. Actually, if you see each of these, the first one leads to the next one. Humility leads to lack of pretentiousness. Amanitvam leads to adambhitvam. That will lead to ahimsa, non-violence. If I have non-violence, then I will be able to forgive. Shanti, arjavam, one by one. Beautiful sequence this is. So, Atma Vinigraha happens when we have Indriyartheshu vairagyam. No dependency on specific sense objects, no attachments on sense objects. Indriyartheshu vairagyam. Anahankara evacha. Absence of ego that I am the doer. Without me, this won't happen. So that strong sense of self importance, the doership. Anahankara evacha. Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi, Dukkha, Doshanu, Darshanam. To be able to see the pain, dukkha, and dosha, the limitation of these four: Janma, birth, Mrityu, death, Jara, old age, Vyadhi, disease. To see very clearly that these four have a lot of pain involved. This is a method to cultivate more and more Vairagya also. There's so much of pain at the time of birth, both for the mother and for the child. The world may congratulate, but the pain is terrific. Janma. Mrityu, again, the body in which we have lived for so many years, when we have to drop this body and go, to the extent we are attached to that extent, there will be pain. Not easy to let go of body identification. Jara, old age. So much of pain at the body level, diseases are afflicting. Emotionally, there is loneliness, people not caring enough. Old age, Jara. And Vyadhi, when there is disease, disease anyway means body is not at ease. So he says, Anudarshanam, continuously to see that this is all these four give so much of pain and sorrow. So why do we want to again come back into this cycle? So Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi, Dukkha and Dosha, the limitation of it as well as the pain that it causes. What is the limitation? Even if people are nice to me, my body is not very sick in old age, I'm feeling very positive. It has a limitation that it will remain only for some time. Again, the mind goes through these cycles of desire, agitation, anxiety, and the body drops at a point. Again, the cycle continues later on in the next life. So it has a limitation that it can give only temporary pleasure. So Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi, Dukkha, Dosha, Anudarshanam. Asaktihi Anabhishvangaha, Putra Dara Grihadishu. In the son, meaning those who are dependent on us. On the spouse, meaning on whom we are dependent. Putra, Dara, Griha, and the house. To be detached with these three. So, minus house is a symbol of I have done this, it is my house, my hard work, my efforts. A strong minus. And a strong dependency on people represented by the spouse. And there are people who are dependent on us represented by the son. To be detached with these three. Not that we are not loving to them. One is loving, one is able to interact meaningfully, purposefully, inspiring way, everything, not indifferent. But at the same time, have the right distance, give the right space, the freedom, each one has to make their own decisions. And not allow these relationships, emotions, achievements to overwhelm our duties, to overwhelm our thinking. Like Arjun got overwhelmed and he lost his clarity about that he was a soldier there to protect righteousness. Bhishma lost his clarity. He got attached to his oath and forgot that he should actually be committed to protection of dharma as a kshatriya. So that way, not to allow the roles to overwhelm me, not to allow the achievements to overwhelm me. So asakti anabhishvanga putra dara grihadishu. Then nityam cha samachittatvam ishtanishtopapatishu. In the pairs of opposites, when I get what I like, ishta, and anishta, when I don't get what I like, in both the situations to be balanced. Nityam cha samachittatvam. to constantly live in equanimity. Because results of action are a byproduct, actually speaking. The joy is in the action itself. And when I do the action which I love to do, established in my Swadharma, that joy of that action itself is the reward. Whenever the result comes, that's an extra bonus. So the person who loves music, loves creating music. Painter loves painting. So in that way, the joy is in the action itself. If one finds that joy in the action, the dependency on the result will go. Then whatever results come, mind still is equanimous. Mind is able to take it happily. If one has to improve the performance, that also one will do. But the results don't disturb that person. Don't take them to one high if the results are successful and another low when the results are not as expected. So nityam cha samachittatvam ishtanishtopapatishu. Then maichananya yogena bhaktiravyabhicharini. With single pointed devotion, one loves the Lord. Vyabhichara means prostitution. Avyabhichara means single commitment to the Lord, to one person. Literally, it means one. So when we are committed that whatever we are doing as instruments of the Lord, we love the Lord. And because the Lord is in the hearts of all the beings, I serve and I love all the beings. Not as the beings, but as the Lord who is there in them. As the beings, yes, we may love, but we don't ignore the Lord and we don't forget that's the main connection. So, avyabhichari bhakti, single pointed, where the devotee does not depend on anything else except Bhagavan. Not even on one's own body, not even on one's own sadhana. One says that what I am doing is Bhagavan only doing. I am not doing anything. I am not the karta. So I don't depend on this sadhana also to realize God. I will realize God by the grace of God alone. Whenever Bhagavan wants, Bhagavan will reveal himself. Then why should I do sadhana? So that my mind remains focused on the Lord. So I don't depend on people, I don't depend on objects, I don't depend on situations, I don't depend on the body, I don't depend on the mind, not even on the sadhana. Then what does one depend on? Only on the Lord. Jahi vidhi rakhe Ram, tahi vidhi rahi. That is called single-pointed devotion. Hanumanji was an Ananya Bhakta. In Tulsi Ramayana, a beautiful line. It says, So Ananya Jake Mati Asina Tarai Hanumant Main Sevak Sacharachara Rupa Swami Bhagavan. He says, who is an Ananya Bhakta? So Ananya Jake Mati, in whose mind Asina Tarai Hanumant. This is very firm and clear. What? Main Sevak, I am the Sevak. Of whom? Rupa Swami Bhagavant, Sacharachara, the Lord who is all pervasive in the moving and the non-moving. I am a servant of that Lord, and Bhagavan alone pervades everywhere. So the Ananya Bhakta is one who is committed to the Lord. And every action that the person does is with that bhav that I am a servant of that Lord. And Bhagavan is the Karta and Bhagavan is the Bhokta. So that is called Ananya Bhakti. Maicha Ananya Yogena Bhakti Ravya Vicharini. Vivikta Desha Sevitvam. Solitude. To observe some time in solitude, to be away from distractions, from people, from objects, and to turn the attention within. Like we just completed 6 days of airplane mode, where one has silence, where one turns within. So, Vivikta Desha Sevitvam. Regularly, a seeker does that. So that Rajoguna makes me extroverted and escape. Tamoguna makes me dull. It is the sattva guna and solitude which helps me to pay attention to my mind and to turn within, to evolve, to become quieter, to surrender, all that. So Vivikta Desha Sevitvam, Aratir Jana Samsadi. The mind is no more interested in vain gatherings of people, small talk, gossip, mundane things, which one just keeps exchanging. There is no rati, or as the mind used to love it earlier. Rati is love, where one enjoyed it, where one wanted it, where one felt a sense of belonging, that okay, now so many people are there, I feel so good about it, I want to share. Slowly the mind has turned, it has transformed. So it wants more satsang, company of people who are seekers, listening to that about the higher way of living, about the saints, about great masters. So it is not a negative state there, okay, I dislike everything. Aratir Jana Samsadi. It's not to close oneself and isolate. But it is, the taste has changed. So Aratir Jana Samsadi. Adhyatma Jnana Nityatvam. Tattva Jnana Artha Darshanam. Adhyatma Jnana Nityatvam means the ability to study the spiritual knowledge daily. Adhyatma Jnana Nityatvam. And Tattva Jnana Artha Darshanam. So generally reading the scriptures, understanding the scriptures is consistently is Adhyatma Jnana Nityatvam. Tattva Jnana Artha Darshanam is to be able to see the essence of that, and that the essence of that is the individual and the supreme are one, Advaita. Tattvamasi is the essence of all the scriptures. So the ability to understand that essence, Tattva Jnana Artha Darshanam. Tattva Jnana is the knowledge of the essence, Tattva means the self. So Tattva Jnana Artha Darshan. The meaning of that I should know, and I must have that vision that my true nature is pure consciousness. This body is only a tool. So these are all the qualities which are mentioned in the 13th chapter from verse 7 to 11. Bhagavan says, Etad jnanam iti proktam ajnanam yadatonyatha. In the eyes of the Lord, these qualities are called knowledge. And rest of it he calls is ignorance only. How many ever degrees I may have, whatever secular knowledge I may have, but if I don't have these qualities, in the eyes of the Lord, he says, that is not true knowledge. Etad jnanam iti proktam. Ajnanam yadatonyatha. Because this will help me to manifest my own divinity. That's the purpose of education and knowledge. At the cost of not knowing my divinity, if I achieve so many things, read so many things, understand so many things, makes no difference. Hence, Bhagavan emphasizes that. So here in this shloka, it is said, the mind which is predominantly sattvic will be following these values, exhibiting these values, living these values. Amanita adhyaha, niyamaha. So these niyama yamadhyaha. So in Yoga Shastra, there are 5 niyams and 5 yamas. You know, yoga has become so popular, and lot of different types of yoga also, and people have, some places, one has forgotten the main purpose of yoga. That is to unite with the self. 8 steps in yoga, they begin with yama and niyama. Generally one forgets these. One doesn't even follow these. One starts straight away with asana. Even there, one wants to do asana very quickly and then go into pranayama straight away. Here what Bhagavan says, the 5 qualities of yama and 5 qualities of niyama, a sattvic mind will cultivate these qualities consciously. See, amanitadi, all these are the jnana. Now this is yoga. Next will come bhakti. So the mind is filled with these karma, bhakti, jnana, yoga, these qualities. So here he says, what are these 5 niyama and 5 yama? So yama is, literally yam means to control. So ahimsa, non-violence, what we spoke earlier. Satyam. So ahimsa is at the mind level, satyam is, in this context, intellectual level. The commitment to what I value as true, what I value as important. To be committed to that, not to compromise with my intellectual ideals, that is satyam. So ahimsa, satyam, asteya. One has the belief that Bhagavan exists and sorry, astikyam is that. Asteyam is uh, not to take away somebody's wealth. Like in the Gita Bhagavan, in the Ishavasya Upanishad, they said, Ma gridha kasya svidhanam. Don't grab somebody's wealth, what does not belong to you. So in that way, asteyam is not to covet somebody's wealth, to live by one's own righteous means. So ahimsa, brahmacharya, asteya, ahimsa, satyam, asteya, and brahmacharya. Brahmacharya is, literally the word brahmachari means one whose mind revels in Brahman. Brahmani charati iti brahmachari. For the mind to be able to revel in Brahman, we must be able to withdraw the mind from sense pleasures. So that state where one is living in moderation, as Gurudev would translate brahmacharya as living in moderation. So for a grihasthi, it is to live in moderation with all sense enjoyments. Many people think it is only celibacy, it's only absence of carnal pleasure. No. If I eat a lot, it is violation of brahmacharya. If I keep watching television or what they call binge watching, one after the other, one series after the other in any Netflix or any such channel, then again it's a violation of brahmacharya. If I go on talking so much, it's a violation of brahmacharya. So the pranic energy is conserved and the mind is directed to the Lord. So brahmacharya is moderation for a grihasthi, and for a brahmachari and for a sannyasi it is at thought, word and deed level to keep the mind focused on the goal, on the vision, is brahmacharya. And absence of carnal pleasure in these 2 states. So brahmacharya, satyam, asteyam, so ahimsa, satyam, asteyam, brahmacharya, and aparigraha. Aparigraha means non-possessiveness. I may have things, but I am not possessive. And what I have also is what is bare minimum. What is necessary, what is required. From a seeker standpoint, these qualities are important, because otherwise the mind keeps spending time in protecting what all one has, cleaning it, maintaining it, too much time. So 5 aspects. Aparigraha, to what extent? Even the food one never keeps extra. From the great masters and the renunciates, they don't even keep the next meal. They don't store, okay, this I will eat tomorrow, this I will eat day after tomorrow. No storing. Clothes also, bare minimum, 1 or 2 sets what they have, nothing extra, not more than that. Tapan Maharaj was a very austere person who lived like this, aparigraha, very clearly. Of course, all the other qualities also, but aparigraha. He will not have 1 extra set of clothes. 2 pairs he had, not more, not 1 more extra. Even if it gets torn, he would mend it, he would stitch it, and then again wear. So that's why Gurudev used to say that sometimes his cloth will be like a godadi, like a lot of patches of cloth tied stitched together. And so sometimes if they want to give him a new set, they have to conspire against him. Means what? They have to say that Gangaji carried away your clothes. While we were washing, the flow was so much Gangaji carried away, so now we got you a new set. Because he will not keep one set more extra. Only two. So that is as far as the full-time renunciates are concerned, they are able to do that. While we are living in the world, have as minimum as requirements as we have, and don't be possessed by them. Have but don't possess. That is aparigraha. So now these are 5 yamas. What are the 5 niyamas? Shaucham, cleanliness. What we spoke earlier, same way. Cleanliness outside, cleanliness in the motive. Santosha, contentment. Not to be greedy, be happy with what one has. Tapaha, one is always doing some austerity to come out of the comfort zone, not allowing the mind to get enslaved by certain comfort zones, whether in food or sleep or with some situations, some sense pleasures. To be austere, to train the body, to train the mind, to train the pranas, to remain focused on the goal. In fact, one of the definitions of tapa is aikagryam paramam tapaha. Supreme tapa is concentration. So asking oneself that what is it that I am doing right now to get out of a particular comfort zone. There are so many comfort zones which bind us. In this stage of life, at this moment, what is my sadhana to get out of a comfort zone? So that is tapaha. Then swadhyaya is to study regularly the scriptural literature, and through that study oneself, swa adhyayanam, introspect. Am I living these values? Where can I make changes? What am I doing right? What am I doing wrong? To introspect very clearly through the study of the scripture, swadhyaya. And Ishvara pranidhan is surrender to the Lord. So while people think yoga doesn't have any, concept of God and it is not religious and all that, concept of God is there, Ishvara is there. Which concept, how you want to consider, that is up to each individual. But the totality exists. And I surrender to that totality. I invoke that bhava of devotion and surrender. So these are 5 yamas and 5 niyamas, 10 of them. So the path of Jnana was mentioned by Amanitvam, Adambhitvam, etc. The path of yoga is here, niyama and yama. Then Shraddhacha Bhaktischa, Mumukshutacha. The path of knowledge, path of yoga, and now the path of devotion. Shraddha is faith, Bhakti is devotion, and based on this, Mumukshutvam, intense yearning to be one with the Lord. So the mind which is sattvic will be predominant with any one or more of these. Either predominantly living the values given in the Jnana Marg, or predominantly living the values of the Yoga Marg, or Bhakti Marg, or Karma Marg, Daivi Sampada, Daivi Sampatti, Asannivritti. With the help of the divine qualities. Again, the 16th chapter mentions the divine qualities. Abhayam, Sattva, Samshuddhi. Gurudev has given that here in the footnote. Jnana Yoga Vyavasthitihi, Dhanam, Damascha, Yajnascha, Swadhyayastapa, Arjavam. So all those qualities which are given in the 16th chapter, these are the divine qualities. And it is contrasted with demonic qualities, Asuri Sampat. So one lives in according to that. Bhagavan tells Arjuna actually that Arjun, don't worry, you are born with divine qualities. Each one of us is actually born with these qualities, but our Rajoguna, Tamoguna overwhelms these. Here is a person in whose mind Sattva Guna is predominant. Why Sattva Guna is predominant? Because one is living these values uncompromisingly. Sattva Guna will not become predominant by itself. Please remember one thing. Simple point is Rajas and Tamas, we don't have to put more effort. Natural tendency of the mind is ignorance and extrovertedness. Natural. Tamas and Rajas. But Sattva Guna comes only by great effort, by sadhana, by purusharth, by struggle. So this Mishra Sattva is that where the values are being followed by the person, then the result of that will be a mind which is pure, a mind which is subtle, mind and intellect which are subtle. Such a mind and intellect will be able to sit and turn the attention within and contemplate on the Lord or on the self. And as one does that contemplation, then what happens? The Rajas and Tamas further reduce and get the binding part of Rajas and Tamas gets eliminated, or absolutely barest minimum it will become, and it will go in Samadhi Avastha. So that state is called Vishuddha Sattva, purest Sattva Guna, not tainted by even a little bit of Rajas and Tamas, absolutely bare minimum maybe, or actually nothing. Vishuddha Sattva. That is 190. Vishuddha Sattvasya Guna Prasadaha Svatmanubhuti Parama Prashantihi Tripti Praharsha Paramatma Nishtha Yaya Sadananda Rasam Samrichhati. So Bhagavan says here, Shankaracharya ji, what is the dharma? Vishuddha Sattvasya Guna Prasadaha. What is the result of this Vishuddha Sattva? Purest form of Sattva Guna is Guna Prasadaha. The mind is peaceful, calm, cheerful. So Prasad means that when we take something with gratitude that this has come from the Lord, and there is a joy in the heart. So that cheerfulness, that when results come to me, I accept them as the Prasad of the Lord. So the result of Vishuddha Sattva is no disturbance, no agitation. Even if an unfavorable result comes, one accepts it as Prasada Buddhi, one is peaceful. Vishuddha Sattvasya Guna Prasadaha. So if my mind remains more and more calm, is more and more accepting of situations out of surrender, then there is Vishuddha Sattva happening. So Vishuddha Sattvasya Guna Prasadaha. What is the result of this Vishuddha Sattva? Svatmanubhutihi, the experience of one's own self. So Vishuddha Sattva is the quality required to go into Samadhi and then realize the self. Because the more the mind has Sattva Guna, the more it can turn within and remain in that state for a long time. And to remain in that state for a long time, contemplating that I am not the body, I am Brahman, that is the method to realize the self. Because the attachment to the body, mind, intellect has to be destroyed by consistent, steady contemplation. Consistent, steady contemplation cannot happen when there is agitation, there is vasana pressure, the mind wants to do something, go somewhere, become something, indulge in something, enjoy something. It will get out, extrovert, it won't stay. Hence the quality of sattva we have to cultivate first, which was given earlier through all those values, virtues. Then comes this state of Vishuddha Sattva. When I live the values and virtues uncompromisingly, the mind becomes purer and purer and purer, and it will come to Vishuddha Sattva. The result of Vishuddha Sattva is steady contemplation, and the result of that is realization, Svatmanubhuti. When one experiences the self, then what happens? Parama Prashantihi. There is supreme peace. Because attachment causes agitation, as we saw earlier. Rajoguna is that. Vishuddha Sattva, not even a trace of Rajas is there. After realization, so no trace, gone. The binding part of Sattva also goes away in that. Parama Prashanti, supreme peace. Not peace of the mind, peace of the self. Peace of the mind comes and goes. No doubt it is important. And to the extent I have Sattva Guna, to that extent I have peace of mind. But again, some Rajoguna, some Vasana will come up where again I become extrovert. Again I get dependent. So this tendency will continue to be peaceful, to be agitated, to be peaceful, to be agitated. That's at the level of the mind. But as the Sattva Guna keeps increasing, the level of agitation becomes lesser and lesser. And when the Sattva Guna is highest, at the Vishuddha Sattva level, when one has reached and realized the self, then the person experiences not peace of mind. Person experiences peace of the self, and that never goes. The peace that passeth all understanding, that's the expression that is used. So Parama Prashanti, supreme peace inside. Parama Prashanti. Tripti, great contentment. Not again the contentment of the mind, but contentment of the self. Like in the Gita it is said, Atma Rati, Atma Tripti and Atma Santushti. The contentment of the self. One enjoys that state. Rati, Tripti, one is greatly satisfied. Santushti, there is high level of contentment. Because there is fulfillment, there is no sense of incompleteness that I am lacking something, something is missing, I don't have this, or I should become like that. No such feeling. The person is come to rest in that self, where one understands that fullness, Purnata is my Swarup. My means not the individual, my means the pure consciousness. So Tripti, Praharshaha, is this a very dull state? A state where there is, okay, contentment is there, peace is there, okay, fine. No. Praharsha, there is a great joy because Anand is the Swarup of the Atma. Not joy meaning one is jumping around everywhere, thinking, oh, I'm so happy, I'm so blissful. Not that. That is excitement. But praharsha, meaning the joy that one experiences, which is independent of any object, person, situations, is not a temporary joy. It is a steady state of happiness and joy. Again, not experienced, not just limited to the mind level, because that again comes and goes. But the state of joy that one experiences, like every night when we go to deep sleep, there is a sense of fulfillment, happiness. Of course, not consciously we experience it. When one comes out of it, one knows, okay, there was a sense of joy there. Again, that example has a limitation, a severe limitation. There is no exact analogy or example which can fit this. That what is the state of this joy? So the Upanishads, they give different analogies to make us understand this state. Each analogy has their own limitation. So it is said that the joy of this whole creation, now Brahmaji, when he created this whole Srishti, the highest joy in this creation is the joy of Brahmaji. It starts with the human being. That imagine a human being whose all desires are fulfilled, who is young, who is strong, who has all the resources at his disposal, who is value-based, cultured, determined. And all the desires of that person are fulfilled. No disappointments at all. The joy that that person will experience is one unit. 100 times more than that is the joy of a Ajanaja Dev, a divine being. 100 times more than that is the joy of a Karmaja Dev. 100 times more than that is the joy of a Dev. Like that it goes on. Indra, Brahaspati, Brahmaji. And it is said that the joy of Brahmaji is one drop in the ocean of joy that the realized master experiences. So this is the state of Praharsha, supreme joy. Again, these are analogies comparatively given to understand what is this state. That it's not a dull state, it's not a state where one is uh, not enjoying, or it's just a very calm, peaceful. No. Triptihi praharshaha, paramatma nishtha. One has the firm abidance that my nature is pure consciousness. I am one with the Lord. Nishtha means abidance. Mind is no more wavering, no more fickle. No, it becomes its way of life. Nishtha means that abidance. It doesn't go, come out and go. No, it stays firm. Nishtha. And what is the nishtha here? Paramatma nishtha. That my nature is that supreme pure consciousness. Yaya sadananda rasam samrichati. By which the person comes to enjoy this everlasting bliss. Sada ananda rasam samrichati. Because of this Vishuddha Sattva, a person experiences this state of bliss forever. Once established in that state, that person can never come back into the state of ignorance, delusion, or forgetfulness. None of that. Sada anandarasam samrichati. And hence it is that sattva guna one has to cultivate. Mishra sattva, by hard work, by effort, one has to cultivate. And as one keeps on improving in one's own sadhana and self-effort, that Mishra sattva will become Vishuddha sattva. Person will be able to sit quietly, contemplate, and experience the self. So the verse 119 gave us all the effects of. So they gave both the things actually. What is the state of Vishuddha sattva and what is the result of Vishuddha sattva? The state of Vishuddha sattva is it is free from rajas and tamas, and through that contemplate. And the state of the result of Vishuddha sattva is all this: Paramatma nishtha, Swatmanubhuti, Parama prashantihi. All these are descriptions of the same state, but through different methods. So, because somebody seeks peace, somebody seeks contentment, somebody seeks happiness, eternal bliss. So different words we use to indicate that goal of life, but they all mean one and the same state of knowledge, the same state of bliss is explained in that. So this much is about the three gunas. Why did we come to three gunas? Because of the Maya. Why did we come to Maya? Because we wanted to understand the causal body. Gross body, subtle body we understood. Then is the causal body. So this causal body is what is explained in the next two verses, but that we will take up in our sessions in January. Any doubts? Anything to share? You are welcome.
Namaste Swamiji. I'm looking at page 147 where he gives the translation of that verse is nescience, avidya or maya is also called the unmanifest and is the power of the Lord. So to me that means that maya is the same thing as avidya. It is not an affliction of the mind like you say ignorance. It's not like that. That's what I'm assuming. Am I right?
Okay. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.